Hi, this is Kevin with WordVice. Today we're going to talk about the SOP, or Graduate Statement of Purpose. What is it, and how you can write a winning and powerful statement to get into the grad school of your choice. The Statement of Purpose is an essay that's required of all students who apply to grad school. All applicants in all majors at most Ivy League universities and top-tier schools. Although some schools have a separate essay for MBA, you should check the requirements of your school carefully before beginning or submitting any SOP. A significant component of all applicants' full profile, in addition to grades, test scores, and other applicant information, will be contained in your SOP. So today we'll be talking about writing an SOP that is positive, thorough, and as detailed as possible to make it be considered for graduate school. Basically, an SOP is the essay that shows an applicant's academic biography, a narrative about the student, which includes academic history and preparation to enter a graduate program. It also should show the strength of an applicant's reasons or interest in a program. The SOP also tells the faculty committee why this applicant is a good fit for this program at this particular institution. So basically, think about this essay as a highlight reel of your past performance before graduate school. Or if you were already in another graduate program, you will also talk about those details as well in this essay. It shouldn't and can't include everything you've studied or done during your undergraduate years. Rather, it should be a concise summary of the most important focuses, projects, and directions that your work has taken so far. The applicant has an opportunity basically to shine a light on why they are a great candidate for this particular graduate school. So what should the SOP do? First, it should be an example of your best writing. Grammar, fluency, organization, eloquence, and power. It should really show the most capable, your most capable abilities of any essay, similar to an academic research paper or manuscript, but the tone and the level of personalization is much higher in this essay. It should also be an example. You should also be able to take time and effort to complete it. And this is how you create very strong writing, is to take a lot of time to plan for it. You'll make several drafts, you will make several revisions, and of course edit it at the end. It's a great challenge for the applicant to show everything that they need to do positively while being concise and thorough. That's why it takes so much time and attention to detail, and maybe even a little help from an editor and or a fellow academic. So here's some things to focus on. This is why having an excellent preparation is invaluable in writing the SOP. You're going to focus on your academic career, interest and pursuits, and academic or professional goals. So this seems like a wide array of things. The key is to not write it simply as a list of what you've done, but to put it into a readable narrative context, but still contain all the important information about your undergraduate or perhaps graduate history. So first, you might want to gather all the material and information you can about your past experience. That includes transcripts, major papers, exam scores, publications, definitely a resume or CV. CVs are usually the most commonly accepted at universities, and any honors and awards you may have received. This includes interdepartmental honors or even scholarships, anything you can think of. So finding those documents, putting them in one place will really help you begin to lay out both the order of your achievements and the structure for your essay. You can draw on any of this information to write your statement of purpose. Next, think of any pertinent scholastic activities such as interim research, master's or senior thesis, fieldwork and lab experiences or any other kind of departmental work, any research or writing is going to be useful when you're writing this essay. You will not necessarily use all of it, but in the case of most undergraduate students, you will only have a limited amount of experience to draw from. So finding your most important and pertinent information to put in this essay will be a matter of gathering it in the first place. So let's look at some approaches to writing this essay. First, we'll look at some guidelines for the SOP. Keep in mind that this essay should be an example of your best writing. Should be free of errors, formal and yet personal. So what does that mean exactly? Well, think of a time when you've written a letter to someone that was higher in position to yourself, perhaps an employer or a manager or a professor who you wanted to get a letter of recommendation from. So you want to both endear yourself to that person, but also show them that you are professional and that you have all of the mature academic attributes of the graduate student. It should also be written in active voice. Unlike research papers, which are often written in the passive voice, an active voice gives a stronger impression and makes a more personal connection between the reader and the author. You also want to show your competence and ability. Show that you have the skills, experience, and attitude to start strong and succeed in this particular area of study that you have chosen. So, the other thing that's very important for the SOP is to follow the instructions. While every statement of purpose has similar goals and objectives, some schools ask for specific requirements, specific content, or ways of presenting it. So let's look at Stanford's statement of purpose. So they have their own exact instructions for writing this SOP, and if you note carefully what those instructions are, you'll see later on when we look at an example essay how the author has incorporated each part of these instructions. So let's go over it together. Describe in your statement of purpose your reasons for applying to the proposed program at Stanford and your preparation for this field of study. Your research and study interests, future career plans, and other aspects of your background and interests, which may aid the admission committee in evaluating your aptitude and motivation for graduate study. So as you can see, we've already touched on all the bases: competencies, interests in the program, past research, motivations, all of those key elements that the admission faculty is going to be looking for. But in addition to this, you can see at the bottom of these instructions some more particular format guidelines. It says you may upload one file. It should not exceed 2 pages in length, single-spaced. Make sure to set your computer to Western European or other English language setting. We cannot guarantee the ability to access your statement if it is submitted in other fonts. Now, if you read through this technical language, which sounds like what a professor might write on a syllabus for you to submit a research paper or term paper, you can see that this is a polite way of telling you, the applicant, how to do this SOP and what kind of mistakes they might be looking for right off the bat to know whether this person is a thorough reader, it pays attention to details, and is respectful of this assignment. So you want to make sure to follow those rules before you even begin drafting your essay. Now, many of these essays will give specifics about page length or word minimums or maximum, but most will not. So as a general rule, you should write somewhere in the neighborhood of 1,000 to 1,500 words. Every student will have different requirements for their own SOP, as their academic histories are different. So if you've done a substantial amount of research, you have a lot more things to list. If your area of study in graduate school is unrelated to your undergraduate study, you might have less achievements to list. So you may want to focus more on your interests and your drives and your competency in critical thinking or analytical skills, etc. So let's look at the 4 key components of essay content before we go any further. This should give you an idea of the basic structure of the statement of purpose and a little guideline about the length and the content. So part 1 is the introduction, interests, and motivations. We discussed how you want to show your interest in the school and what motivations. This is similar to a backstory. You're telling a bit about yourself, your reason for passion for pursuing this degree. And you're also introducing yourself. Who are you? They don't know who you are. So you start off with a bit of personal history. Part 2 will include a summary of undergraduate and previous graduate career objectives and achievements. So this is sort of the meat of your essay if you have you've done a lot of research, or if you've completed many papers, journal submissions, etc. In part 3, you will discuss relevant, recent and current activities. So this is kind of a snapshot of where you are now, what you've done up until the present, where you are at this moment as you enter into the next step in your education. Part 4, you will elaborate on your academic interests. This is where you can add a bit of panache and style. Talk about what these interests will do for you in the future, what you plan to do with them, whether it's go into a PhD program or attend a higher level of research, a practicum perhaps, or what you want to do as a career. And this is also where you can talk about how the specific school, Stanford for instance, meets your requirements for a good graduate school. You can actually show your knowledge here about what you know, the research that you've done, and show the graduate faculty that not only are you an experienced and competent student and researcher, but you also know your stuff as far as the politics of the school environment and the content in that environment. And the more you know about that school, the greater fit you will be for that program. So now let's take a look at a sample SOP essay that was written for Stanford University for the computer science department. Now before we look at this essay, you should keep in mind that these same components can be applied to any SOP for any top-tier school. So in paragraph 1, the student has written their introduction and intended program. They first start off with a personal pronoun, I, right? And we remember that I can be used, I, me, my, our, to personalize their essay, to show that it affects these research experiences, these educational experiences, backgrounds are part of who they are, because they are a person entering this institute and not only just a researcher, but a human being. So they talk about where they're going to apply. They identify Stanford, the PhD program in computer science, and more specific parts of the program: theoretical computer science, design and analysis of approximation algorithms, combinatory and complexity theory. Now, if you don't have this specific level of interest, that's okay. I mean, this student obviously has a lot of experience in this field and knows what they want to do. But if you're going into a science or even humanities field and you're not sure about what you would like to study, you can focus more on your motivations rather than the specialization of this program. But if you do know what you want to study in great detail, this sends a message to the graduate faculty that you are prepared to do something with this knowledge after leaving the university. So after the introduction, this student moves on in paragraph 2 to their interest and motivations. And we should be aware that every slide is a paragraph. These are separated. If we could see the entire essay by itself, you could note that each idea is separated into a different block of paragraph. And that doesn't mean that you have to have each paragraph be one key component, but that every paragraph is a separate idea. So you can write in greater detail about a research experience. You can also write about your interests and motivations throughout your essay while you talk about these research experiences. And that is what this applicant has done. So they start this with key language. My interest in mathematics goes back to the time I was at school. So they've started introducing their background a bit here. which we remember is one of the key components. They talk about where they're from, having represented India at the International Mathematical Olympiad. So again, already they've introduced those key materials such as awards and recognitions in the second paragraph of their essay, and they will continue to do that throughout this essay. They use key terms that associate with this program, this field of study: discrete mathematics, combinatory and graph theory, etc. And they talk about the intensive training programs. So they've hit on a number of elements that you want to include into your SOP essay just in this one paragraph. Now in paragraph 3, this applicant continues with the summary of their undergraduate career. And again, they talk about my exposure to computer science began. So this tells the reader that they're going to give more of a history about their educational experience. They use positive language. The excellent facilities have given me a firm background. So they're highlighting the positive benefits of this university, which signals to the graduate faculty that this person is grateful and will make great use out of the facilities at a given institution. And they go on to discuss more specific terms related to their major, such as discrete structures, data structures and algorithms, theory of computation. So if you have specific courses or areas of interest that you have taken classes on or done research in, this is the place in this kind of paragraph to go into great detail about that knowledge that you've gained. In paragraph 4, they discuss current and recent activities. So you notice key language, recently. They're going to take a snapshot of what they've been involved in within the last year or two, showing exactly the kind of research that has made them prepared for this graduate school. So they talk about not only their experiences, but the content itself, the Markov chain. So this person is demonstrating not only their personal encounter with the area of study, but that they understand the current research being conducted. And again, you might not have this level of experience in research or study, and that's okay. If you want to write a paragraph about 1 or 2 classes that you were intensely interested in, it doesn't have to be on this high level of research knowledge. You can focus it more on your motivations and what you got out of those classes. Paragraph 5 simply continues that focus on interests and connections with this graduate program. Again, they affirm that they should pursue a career in research and teaching. So that signals to the graduate faculty that they have a plan after university. So what is their goal? Well, they've stated it right here in the first sentence. So everything after this first sentence is going to be backing up that main idea. So they talk about their experiences with teaching as a tutor and a lecturer in student workshops, which have evoked favorable responses. So positive language throughout. I believe that I have the capacity to make the commitment and accept the challenges that a career in research involves. So they're showing both that they are motivated, interested, but also aware of the challenges of higher level education. And this is something that is going to constantly remind the reader that you are ready for what you're applying to. In paragraph 6, we can sort of summarize this by saying it's further in-depth focus on the research experience. So in all of these paragraphs, you'll notice that there's a strong introductory sentence for which all of the other sentences afterwards are supporting arguments or more detailed explanation. So this whole paragraph is going to be about the summer training at TIFR. Paragraph 7, this applicant talks about how this specific program will help further their interest and studies. So this is the good fit component of the essay. So they talk about, in general, a good research career can only be built above the firm foundation of a good education. Wow, this sounds like a philosophical platitude or position. So all these other arguments are showing how they are building a good research career. Why is Stanford a good place for them to do that? Why are they a good fit? To accomplish that, they talk a little bit about what is good about Stanford. So they say it has excellent infrastructure facilities and research opportunities. They posit that it has a stimulating academic environment and that there are distinguished faculty. So this student is kind of praising the institution, and any reader who works at an institution that someone is praising will be happy to hear that, to show that they have a positive feeling specifically about their institution. At the end here, we have language. I am confident. Confidence is a key throughout this. The student has shown, not only told, shown their confidence and their competency through the details of their research, and now they are telling the faculty explicitly, I am confident that I would be able to make a positive contribution. Positive language, positive contribution. So let's go to the final paragraph, which is both a conclusion and a commitment statement for this university. So again, the first sentence summarizes everything they've talked about before. So having decided that I will engage in the pursuit of a career in research, I am fully aware of the implications. So they've already shown why they've decided that. They don't have to introduce something new. They don't have to go into greater detail here, which is why the conclusion is so short and concise. But they do show that they are aware of the difficulties that this will bring for them, what they will need as a person. They will need dedication, resilience, and resolve. Many students who apply to grad school simply aren't ready for the level of commitment and dedication and resilience that this applicant is saying that he or she is ready for. So by calling attention to the difficulties that you've anticipated, you're signaling to the reader that you understand that this isn't just a next step in education. It's a great leap that requires a lot of commitment and a lot of time spent thinking about what you will need. And the very last sentence is just a warm and confident salutation. So I look forward to a long and mutually beneficial relationship with Stanford University. Seems simple, but there's a lot here. So they don't ask, please let me get into your university. No, they confidently state, I look forward. That basically is saying that they already have shown their competency, they've shown why they should be accepted, and therefore they're simply waiting to be accepted. So it's a very confident and positive way to say, look at me, I've just demonstrated to you my abilities, so now it's your turn to accept me. And this term, mutually beneficial, again, you're not just showing how you're good for the institution or how the institution's going to help you. You're saying it's beneficial for both of you. By allowing you to be part of this institution, this program, Stanford University stands to benefit and I stand to benefit. And so therefore, the best thing you can do is to allow me into your university. So this is an example of a strong, confident, but yet also very positive statement of purpose. Before we go, let's take a look at some essential tips and guidelines for this essay that you want to keep in mind so you can present the best, most thorough SOP to the graduate faculty. Remember that what the admissions committee will read between the lines is self-motivation, competence, and potential as a graduate student. You should emphasize everything from a positive perspective and write in an active, not a passive voice. Try to skip any of the more negative experiences that you've had while in these situations and focus only on how you have blossomed and overcome anything that has happened to you that's negative within your academic experience. You should demonstrate everything by example. Don't just say directly that you're a persistent person, show it. So it's the old adage, show, don't tell. If there's something important that happened to you that affected your grades, perhaps poverty, illness, excessive work, you're entitled to write about that. Write it affirmatively, so show that you persevered despite these obstacles. This also serves the purpose of humanizing you and showing the graduate faculty who you are as a person and how you can work on their team. And last, make sure everything is linked with continuity and focus. So you're not just jumping from one section of your graduate career to another, but you're linking it with reasons and transitions. So there you have it. All you need to know to prepare yourself to write the graduate student statement of purpose. For questions and to receive additional guidance and suggestions, visit www.wordvice.com. Thanks and happy writing!